What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Giants Chatter. My name is Jesse Flora, and I am your host. I know it's been a little while. There was nothing really going on. I mean, we can talk about Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I want to talk about that. I doubt you want to talk about that, but we are hopping on today because the Giants have done something. They've done something of a sort of significance. Now, I don't think it's one of those like blaring alarms. This is a huge deal by the Giants, and all of a sudden their offseason has gone from a little confusing, a little quiet to, whoa, this is amazing. This is one of the best off seasons we've ever had. This is not one of those moves. This is not one of those signings, but it is a very good signing that makes the Giants a better team. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about who they signed. We're going to break down how that changes the team, how it improves the team and deepens the team, what it might mean for someone like Jung Hoo Lee. And then we're going to look at the end of our episode, what's next, because I do not think they are done. As a fan, I don't want them to be done. And as someone who just, knows the game at least a little bit, I don't think they are done. I think all signs point to they make one or two more moves, and I actually think the way the offseason is going, especially in the starting pitcher market, there might be a surprising signing for the Giants down the road. But let's get into it. The Giants have signed center fielder Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader is the newest Giant. They signed him to a 2-year, $20.5 million deal with a little bit of incentives, which could push that up to, it's incentives of $250K each year. So an additional $500K when we're talking Major League Baseball. Those are pennies in Major League Baseball terms. But they could be a 2-year, $21 million deal. And he is a center fielder, and he is one of the best center fielders in the league, consistently a top 5 or top 10 center fielder in the league. Spent some time when he was with the Twins in right field, because the Twins have Buxton playing center when Buxton's healthy, which is rare. But Bader, last year, we're going to look back at his career a little bit, look back at his numbers. We're going to look first offensively. And then we're going to talk defense, because that is the real win here for the Giants, is they went out and they got a defensive first center fielder, but someone who can swing the stick a little bit. This is not someone who is only glove. This is someone who's got a great glove, plays a great center field, but he can hit the ball decently, especially last year was his best offensive year of his entire career, I believe. I think 2021 he had a solid year as well. But anyway, last year split the year between two teams. He started with the Twins, and then he ended up with the Phillies towards the end of the year, was traded at the deadline, and played very well for Philadelphia. In his time in Philadelphia, in 50 games, he hit .305 with a .361 on base and a .463 slug, which comes out to an .824 OPS and a .124 OPS plus. Now, we're not talking defense yet. That's where we're going to spend more time in a moment, because that's where he's most valuable. But the most recent offensive production we've seen out of Harrison Bader is fantastic. A .305 average, a .361 on base, and a .463 slug, coming out to an .824 OPS. I don't mean to just repeat the stats. From your center field position, who's not expected to go off and be this amazing offensive player, that's fantastic. If the Giants could even get a taste of that, I'll be happy. His time in Minnesota, he played 96 games and was not quite as good offensively, but still was putting together decent numbers. Had a .258 batting average in Minnesota with a .339 on base, a .439 slug, which is still a solid, very good .778 OPS with the OPS plus of 113. So in total, for the whole year of 2025, he hit .277 with a .347 on base and the .449 slug to a .796, flirted with an .800 OPS for the whole year, which comes out to a .117 OPS plus. He hit 17 home runs, which was a career high by one. He's hit 16 before in 2021 when he was with the Cardinals, and he had 54 RBIs, and he swiped 11 bags. And so overall, offensively, last year, he had a very quality year, and you pair that up with the type of defense he plays, which he had an positive 8 outs above average last year, compared to, and we're going to talk a little bit of Jung Hoo Lee, compared to Jung Hoo Lee, who was our prominent center fielder last year who had a -5 outs above average. I love Jung Hoo Lee, but if we're being honest, he has not been this reliable star defensive center fielder that we were expecting when we signed him. Obviously, he was hurt in year 1. Year 2, offensively, put together a decent year, actually. Had some moments of concern, but put together a decent year. But defensively, just center field was a little bit too much, it seemed, for him to handle. And so this is very likely that the Giants have addressed the need in center field and are going to slide Jung Hoo Lee over to right. So most recently, offensively, you're getting Harrison Bader, who at least last year is looking like a quality bat as well. Years prior, not as much. 2024, a 236 batting average with a 284 on base, not good. 373 slug, 657 OPS. That is flirting with Patrick Bailey numbers there. Hit 12 homers that year, 51 RBIs, stole 17 bags. In 2023, he's moved around a lot. Spent half the year with Cincinnati, or most of the year with New York, and a part of the year with Cincinnati. Hit 232 with a 274 on base and a 348 slug with a 622 OPS. Again, that's Patrick Bailey numbers there. Hit 7 homers only that year. He only played, I believe he was hurt for part of it. He only played 14 games with Cincinnati and 84 with the Yankees. So I don't think I don't know what exactly happened there, but an injury of some sort. But he swiped 20 bags, even in a shorter time. So base running is an area the Giants need to grow in, and he's going to hopefully help do that. Maybe he'll swipe 15 to 20 bags this year. Going back even another year in 2022, a little bit better offensive numbers, 250 with a 294 on base and 356 slug with 650 OPS. Not great. Anytime you have an OPS below 700, that is not good. And then 2021, we'll stop here. This is the last time he had a decent offensive year besides 2025. He hit 267 with a 324 on base and a 460 slug, which came out to a 785 OPS. Hit 16 home runs, drove in 50 runs, and he stole 9 bags. And hit 21 doubles as well, which is not bad. So even if the Giants were going to get 2021 offensive numbers out of him, I'll be content. But more than anything, what this is a low price and low risk 2-year deal for about $10.25 million a year on someone who plays a very, very good center field and has most recently shown you that he does have offensive upside. So, no, I don't think we're going to get the Philadelphia Philly version of Harrison Bader, who hit 305 with 361 on base and a 463 slug. I don't think that's what we're going to get, but we are going to get a defensive stud who has a lot of range in the outfield, a lot of range in center field, who plays a quality center field every single year. We're going to get that for sure. And if we get even a taste of the way he played offensively last year, if he hits the way he did in Minnesota, which was a 258 average, a 339 on base, and a 439 slug, great. That is amazing. This is a player that will improve the team. But we should not be thinking he's going to be the problem solver to any offensive issue we ever have all year long, nor does he have to be. And that's one of the things when we look at this offseason that we have to take into consideration. The Giants did not come into this offseason with a massive glaring need in the lineup. They have a decent lineup as is, and now slightly even improved with Harrison Bader. The Giants have had a decent lineup. The trade for Devers last year, if that trade happened right now, we would be losing our minds. Wow, look at our lineup. But for some reason, because the trade happened in the middle of the year last year and we didn't make the playoffs, Giants fans, we've got this just cloudy view over our offseason, think, well, we're doing nothing in our line. No, our lineup is quality. It should play. This lineup should play. We've got Chapman and Adames and Devers, and now we've got guys like Bader who can play a role towards maybe the bottom of the order. Lee hopefully, I think, should be hitting towards the bottom of the order. And we've got Ramos who could have an up year offensively. We're not going to go into our whole lineup, but the Giants did not have this massive glaring need within the lineup. And so the Giants don't need Harrison Bader to be this incredible offensive superstar. We need him to be what they signed him to be, which is a stalwart. I don't know if I said that word right. Excuse me. Sometimes I try words that I shouldn't try. Anyway, we don't expect him to be this number 3 hitter who's going to hit 20 bombs and hit 320 or anything like that. We need him to be a quality center fielder, an upgrade from Jung Hoo Lee. Now, one of the biggest problems with the Giants last year was the defense. And Buster Posey, as well as other front office people, have said that is what we need to address this offseason. We want to become a more athletic and a more defensively focused, defensively better team. There we go. And we've heard them say this now for a few years. We've heard the previous group of front office people say this for a few years, and it's just never happened. This is a move in the right direction. Now, if you want to be a quality defensive team, even from little league through middle school, through high school and college baseball, you got to go right up the middle with your defense. Your catcher, your your shortstop specifically, but also second base, and your center fielder. They need to be fantastic defensive players. The middle of the field impacts the rest of the field. If that middle row up that field from catcher all the way to center field are high-end defensive players, all of a sudden the corner player, the first base, third base, left and right, all the other positions elevate as well because pressure is taken off of them. Now, the good news is the Giants have a fantastic defensive catcher in Patrick Bailey. I will gripe and complain about his bat, and I'm hopeful this year he turns it around. If he just picks it up just a tiny little bit offensively, all of a sudden we've got an amazing catcher. But defensively, we have, I think, the best catcher in the league. So that is amazing. Adames is a formidable shortstop. No, I don't think he's the best shortstop in the league. I don't think he's top 5 defensively, but I think he is top 10 defensively at shortstop. That's great. We got a quality shortstop. And now with Harrison Bader, we have one of the best center fielders in the league. In his career since 2017, he has 67 outs above average. And defensive metrics can be misleading and sometimes not, I don't think, super accurate, but we're going to take this as is. 67 outs above average in his career. In that time, only Kevin Kiermaier has more. Now, that's impressive because when we think of Kevin Kiermaier, we think, wow, just all these defensive highlights, this amazing center fielder. Right behind him, since 2017 until now, is Harrison Bader. That is our new center fielder. And so we are going to get a top 5, I believe top 5, but at the very least, top 10 center fielder in the league defensively. And now this allows Jung Hoo Lee to slide over to right field. Right field, nobody's been talking about right field for some reason. I have always thought this whole offseason that right field is a hole, more so than second base. I am comfortable with Casey Schmidt being our starting second baseman. I really am. And I'm even comfortable with Tyler Fitzgerald, rolling him out there again. I'm comfortable with that. I was not comfortable with a right field of Drew Gilbert and Grant McCray and Luis Matos, and let's see what we got. We've done enough of that. I like those guys. I think all 3 of them have high potential. Or Gerard Encarnacion. They all got potential and have qualities about them that are good. But sliding Jung Hoo Lee over to right field not only takes the pressure of center field defensively off of his shoulders. Right field is a shorter porch. He's going to be playing more towards the gap because of the nature of the ballpark. He's going to be right next to Harrison Bader, who has a lot of range. Just watch how Jung Hoo Lee's defensive metrics tick up a lot this year. Just watch. He has a strong arm. I saw somewhere that he has a 90%. He's in the 90th percent. 90%. What am I saying? He's in the top 10%. There we go. Of outfielders with arm strength. So he's got a cannon. He's got a good arm. In right field, you need a good arm to play a good right field. You can hide a bad arm in left field. Cough, Elliot Ramos, cough, cough. His throw straight into the ground last year, which I also think Ramos is going to have a better year defensively this year. I think he's going to prioritize it. I think Ron Washington's going to help. And I think having Harrison Bader in center is also going to help. But Jung Hoo Lee specifically, and I know I'm hopping all over the place and I'm amped up today. I'm ready for baseball. We are almost in February. It's coming, so I'm excited. So I apologize for the wandering thoughts and the wild talk, but Jung Hoo Lee has a solid arm that will play in right field. He's going to be able to prioritize the gap now next to Harrison Bader. He's going to have a shorter porch in true right field with the brick wall. What he'll have to learn and adjust to is the caroms off the wall, playing the wall. Mike Yastrzemski was great at it. I think Jung Hoo Lee can play just as good as a right field as Yastrzemski did for those years. So This makes the Giants a much better team defensively. This also addresses a base running need. He's not someone who's going to swipe 30 or 40 bags, but he will swipe 15 to 20, which is fantastic. The Giants don't have any of those guys. Jung Hoo Lee had 10 last year, the grandson of the wind, but he's not stealing bases. The Giants need to steal more bases, and the Giants need to play a cleaner defense. Harrison Bader helps them do both. So, I am a fan of this signing. I do not think they should be done. Absolutely not. But when I think about the team now with Harrison Bader on the roster, this is a better team. This is a better team simply because of what he brings to the table defensively. And if he even flirts with what he did last year offensively, man, this is a good signing. And so I'm excited for this one. Again, Harrison Bader, the new center fielder for the Giants, we believe. I mean, there's a chance they put Lee in center still, but I don't think that's going to happen. He signed a 2-year, $20.5 million deal, and I think he makes the team better. I think he makes the team deeper. Now, Drew Gilbert and Luis Matos and Grant McCray can all battle it out for that fourth outfield spot. And even Tyler Fitzgerald can be a super utility guy on your team, and he can play the infield and he can play the outfield. And so maybe you keep Fitzgerald on your roster for some speed and versatility defensively. So I applaud the Giants front office. Thank you for doing something to address the defensive need in center field. I think this is going to make the team better. Like I said at the end of our last time we talked, and I know it's been a little while, I said that as of now, and this was before Bader signed, the Giants were a good enough team to make the playoffs. And I still believe that. I think last year had some weird stretches and some flukes that took place. I think they are better than they showed last year. And I think one of the reasons they didn't make the playoffs was because of their outfield defense. And this is going to address that need. And so I think the Giants, again, you only need 84, 85, or 86 wins to be a playoff team. As a Giants fan, I'm not worried about, let's catch the Dodgers. That would be amazing. I would love that. But that's not, it might happen. We didn't think it would happen in 2021, but the Giants won the division in 2021. So it could happen. Baseball is that kind of sport. We don't know what's going to happen. But the key to the MLB right now, you get into the playoffs, and you never know what happens in the playoffs. And as Giants fans, we should know this. All three of our runs in the 2010s, the Giants were not expected to win it all. They got in the playoffs, and they made a run. That's all it takes. You got to get hot at the right time. And so they only need to win 84, 85, 86 games to make the playoffs. And I think they've got that many wins on their roster right now. But I do not want them to be done. I want them to keep going. And here's what I think should be next. And here's what I think is next. I do think the Giants do something at second base. There's a lot of rumors surrounding them aggressively pursuing the trade market. We even saw that they were working on a deal with the Nationals for shortstop C.J. Abrams, who's a younger shortstop. I'm kind of glad that deal didn't work out because the Giants were trying to trade one of their top prospects who I'm excited about, and I don't think they should have. And so I'm kind of glad it didn't work out. I'd rather them keep some of their prospect capital because it's always been so thin, so it'd be nice to have it a little bit and see if these guys can break in. And I thought Abrams, quality-wise wasn't as good as that package was sounding, but the Nationals didn't accept that deal. And so I don't know if they got him, if they would have moved Adames over to second or just put Abrams at second. I don't know how that would have worked, but it sounds like the Giants, based on rumors and based on some of the stuff that we've been hearing about, that they are actively pursuing an upgrade at second base. Now, I just said it, and I've said it this whole offseason, that Casey Schmidt, I think, I'd be content. Give him a shot. He did have wrist surgery this offseason, but everything sounds good. That he's recovering fine. He's going to be perfectly healthy. So I'm fine with that. If Casey Schmidt, if we're giving him a shot, so be it. I'm all for it. I think he has high potential. I think he plays a decent enough second base defensively, and I think he's got some pop, and I like Casey Schmidt. So I would be fine with that. But, and I've said this over and over again, and I think the Giants are thinking the same way. I really do. That if they go out and they get someone off the trade market to play second base, all of a sudden your roster becomes so much better and so much deeper because now Casey Schmidt can be that utility guy, move around the infield. Inevitably, when somebody gets hurt, whether it's Chapman or Adames or whoever they get for second base, or even at first base, if there's an injury at first base with Devers or Eldridge, Schmidt can play all of those positions at a pretty decent level, and he's going to swing the bat well. And so depth, is an undervalued thing in today's game by most teams, but the teams that use depth well are the teams that win a lot of games and make deep runs in the playoffs. So we saw this with the Blue Jays, we saw this with the Dodgers. The teams with depth make runs at the end of the year when you need to make runs. You need depth to play 162. It's a long season. You need depth to push into the playoffs and make a long run in the playoffs. And so if the Giants address second base, all of a sudden they have a ton of depth. Harrison Bader, now they've got depth in the outfield. Gilbert doesn't have to start. Matos doesn't have to start. McRae doesn't have to start. We've got depth now. You go out and you get a second baseman who's an everyday second baseman. All of a sudden in your infield, the starting infield looks fantastic. My goodness, I'm going to throw out a couple names, and if we look at the infield as a whole, it starts to look real nice. But even if you just fill that spot with somebody who's an everyday second baseman, all of a sudden your bench with Casey Schmidt and maybe Tyler Fitzgerald being that super utility outfield and infield, wow, they're starting to look at a deep team, and that gets me excited. I know depth doesn't get everybody excited, but I like a deep roster, okay? So here's the two names that I've heard rumored and I've heard talked about and that I would like. I would like either of them. There is one that, as I have researched more about him, I would prefer, and that is Nico Hoerner of the Chicago Cubs. Now, the Cubs, I don't know what the Cubs are doing. They're hard to figure out. It seems like they're all in. They went out and got Alex Bregman, and they have a good roster, and so I don't know. Is Bregman gonna? They've got kind of a log jam at the infield because they got some young guys who play in Shaw, who plays third, and then Hoerner at second. Hoerner is in his last year of his contract, and so they might be wanting to move him and put Bregman at second. But Nico Hoerner is such a valuable second baseman that I could see if I'm a Cubs fan, I don't want them to trade him. I want them to figure out the puzzle pieces and allow all these guys to stick around. But there are a lot of rumors that the Cubs are shopping Nico Hoerner, or at least listening to offers for him. And this is who I want the Giants to target. He has 1 year left on his contract. So you shouldn't have to give up too much. And I think part of why Abrams was requiring a lot was because he's still young and early in his rookie contract, so he had a lot of years of control there still. Hoerner is not that case. He started playing when he was 22, and so now he's going into his age 29 season on his last year of his contract. He'll be hitting free agency next year. This is someone that I would love to see the Giants trade for and then pop a 4, 5, 6 year extension on him because he's still fairly young, right in the middle of his prime. Here's why he's valuable. He is, in my opinion, one of the top 1 or 2 defensive second baseman in the league right now. He had a 6.2 WAR last year, in many ways thanks to incredible second base defense. But the dude can hit. Last year he hit .297, which is an extremely good batting average. If you're hitting around 300 in today's game, my goodness, good for you. Hit .297 with a .345 on base, a .394 slug, and with a .739 OPS. Why that OPS is lower, .739 is still quality, but he's not a power hitter. So he only had 7 homers last year, hit 29 doubles, that's pretty good, and 4 triples is really good. But his slugging is never going to be through the roof because he's not going to hit 15, 20 home runs. He hit 7 homers, 61 RBIs, and stole 29 bases, but he picked it. He had the best glove in the league at second base, won the Gold Glove this year. This is his second Gold Glove. He won it in 2023. But in 2024, excuse me, 2024, he hit .273 with a .335 on base and a .373 slug with a .708 OPS, 7 homers again, stole 31 bags. The year before that, in 2023, he won a Gold Glove. He also hit .283 with a .346 on base and a .383 slug with a .729 OPS. I'm just rolling these numbers out. He hit 9 homers and he stole 43 bags. I love it. In 2022, he hit .281. Last year we're going to look at with a .327 on base and a .410 slug with a .736 OPS. Hit 10 homers, career high, 55 RBIs, stole 20 bases. So the last 4 years, base running. That's an issue with the Giants. We don't have anybody that steals bags. This guy would be our leadoff hitter and he'd be stealing bags. 29 last year, 31 the year before, 43 in 2023, and 20 in 2022. He's won the Gold Glove twice. So defensively, that up the middle, your catcher, your shortstop, and now second base, your middle infielders. My goodness. That would be fantastic to have Adames and Hoerner picking it and turning it at second. And then you got Harrison Bader in center. All of a sudden, you get Nico Hoerner. Your defense up the middle looks amazing, let alone the fact that you have one of the best defensive third basemen in the league over there in Matt Chapman. So the defense starts to look real nice. You look at that infield as a whole. Opening day comes and you've got starting at catcher, Patrick Bailey. Starting at first, let's say Devers, and let's say Eldridge is at DH that day. Awesome. That's great. Starting at second, Nico Hoerner, one of the best second base, top 2 or 1 defensive second baseman in the league. Shortstop, Willie Adames, quality shortstop. Third base, Matt Chapman. With the sticks and with the gloves, that is a quality, top-notch, top 5 infield in the entire league. I would love to have Nico Hoerner on the team, and I would love to have him batting in the 1 slot, leading off with a 297 average, a 345 on base, and with the speed threat running around those bases. Please and thank you. The other name is Brendan Donovan, and we've talked a little bit about him. I would be happy with Brendan Donovan. He has 2 years of control left. I think he might require more because of that 2 years of control. I don't think he's as good of a player as Hoerner, so it might be a similar package for either of them. But we've talked a little bit about Brendan Donovan. We're just going to look at 1 year. Last year at 287 with a 353 on base. Has a higher slug, hits with a little bit more pop, hit a 422 slug, 10 homers, 50 RBIs, only stole 3 bags. So he doesn't address that base running, stolen base need that the Giants have, but he plays a quality second base. He would be a good hitter in the lineup. He hits from the left side. Hoerner hits from the right side. So, we don't want to get too lefty heavy with Devers and Eldridge and Lee, and we don't want to get too lefty heavy. And so Hoerner might be the better option to keep, have more right-handed bats. But either of those guys would be an upgrade at second base. They would be, and they would provide our team with so much more depth than we have right now. So that's what I think is next. I think the Giants make a trade, and they probably trade from their pitching depth with guys like Wisenhut or McDonald or Seymour. They probably trade from our pitching depth. You might have to give up a bigger name. I just want them to stay away from the top 2 or 3 guys, giving up those prospects. I would rather them not do that. They're not going to trade Eldridge. I really would be surprised if they traded Eldridge. But I think they're going to trade for either Nico Hoerner or Brendan Donovan. I think one of those guys is wearing a Giants uniform on opening day, and I'm pumped about it because I think the defense, when it comes to the infield, is going to be fantastic, and I think offensively too, the infield's going to look real nice, and that lineup's going to look real nice. Imagine with me a lineup with Nico Hoerner and now Harrison Bader in the lineup. Leading off, you have Nico Hoerner playing second base. Batting second, let's say we got Willie Adames playing short, batting second. Batting third, we got Devers playing first base. Batting fourth, we got Chapman playing third base. Batting fifth, we've got Ramos playing left field. Batting sixth, we've got, let's go Eldridge at DH, batting sixth. Batting seventh, we got Jung Hoo Lee, Lee or Bader right there. I don't know, 7, 8, Lee or Bader. You got Lee, let's say batting seventh, Lee in right field. Batting eighth, Bader in center field. And batting ninth, Patrick Bailey. The ninth spot is where he belongs at catcher. That's a good lineup. That's a good, deep, quality lineup. And off the bench, you've got Susak as your backup catcher. You got Casey Schmidt as your backup second base, shortstop. Maybe not short, but second, third, and first. And you got, let's say you keep one of those outfielder guys. Let's say you keep Encarnacion for the pop, or maybe you keep Gilbert for his clubhouse spark. I don't know. But then you keep Fitzgerald for the speed off the bench and also the ability to play any infield spot or outfield spot. I'm liking this team. I'm liking that team offensively, at least the lineup and defensively. The other thing I think is next that we might get a surprise, and one area that I really want them to keep addressing is the starting rotation. As of now, it stands Webb, Ray, I think Malley at the 3 spot. I don't know. And I think Roop at the 4. I think Hauser will be the 5 just based on numbers. I could be wrong. It could be Roop at the 5. It could be Malley at the 5. I don't know. I really think of Hauser, and I think I'm probably wrong. I think the Giants also think of Hauser as this Yusmeiro Petit, Jacob Junis type player who can start 10, 12, 15 games for you if you need him to, but can also be that long reliever out of the bullpen, or another option of long relief out of the bullpen. And I think they view him as that, and that is a very important role to play. I think the Giants, and the way the offseason is going, just with some of these starters not getting signed, I think they have an incredible opportunity to bring in a high upside starting pitcher still. And the 2 names that I would be happy with, one I would be more happy with because the other one, though he has better numbers and has had a better career for the most part, he does have some character concerns, and I know Posey cares about that. I know the Giants care about that. It's been a part of their MO for as long as I can remember. They want good clubhouse guys, and as a fan, I want that too. But he might be the better pitcher. The other had a really rough year last year, but I think could bounce back, especially in this ballpark. And those two names are Zach Gallen, who I've been talking about all offseason, and Framber Valdez. I would be fine with either. I would have concern because Valdez has had moments of concern when it comes to his character, and he's been sending teams videos trying to tell them he's a good person. I would have concerns because I think you might have to give him more money and years, although I don't know, maybe there's no market for him, so maybe you can swipe in and give him a deal, or you can get a deal for him. But he is a couple years older than Zach Gallen, so the age could be a concern. But Valdez has been, at least when it comes to his numbers, extremely consistent his entire career. His career ERA is a 3.36 in 8 years. Last year he was 13-11 win-loss, if you care about that, and 31 starts. He had a 3.66 ERA in 192 innings. The year before, pitched to a 2.98. The year before that, 3.45. And the year before that, a 2.82. So he's as consistent as they come. From the left side, we already have Robbie Ray, but the rest of our starters besides Ray are right-handed, so maybe another lefty in the rotation would be great. The other name that I still prefer because I like his makeup. I've always liked him when he was on the he's been on the Diamondbacks all his career except for first 7 starts of his career. I think he was in Miami, but he's been with the Diamondbacks. I have always liked him. I always thought, man, I would love to have him on the Giants, and that's Zach Gallen. Had a down year last year, pitched to a 4.83 last year in 33 starts, still threw 192 innings. That's valuable in and of itself. But his career ERA in 7 seasons is a 3.58. So besides last year, he's been just as good and as consistent as Framber Valdez. So you could get him, I think, on one of those 2 or 3 year deals with an opt-out in between each year. As a fan, that's a bummer. I'd rather avoid opt-outs. But if we're going to address the need this year for our rotation, getting a guy like Zach Gallen or getting a guy like Framber Valdez, all of a sudden the rotation goes from looking like right now it's okay, I could see this being a solid rotation. It should be good. It goes from that to being like, okay, this could be a top rotation. If you got Webb, Valdez, Ray as your top 3, or Webb, Ray, Gallen as your top 3, and then you've got Roop, who pitched well last year, and you got Malley, who showed great signs when he was healthy last year, and then Hauser to provide depth, and then you got the young guys as well, and Birdsong. Who knows what Birdsong is going to do? Is he going to bounce back? Is he going to start throwing strikes again? We know he has great stuff. Is he going to live up to that potential? You've got 7 or 8 guys there who can be great starting pitchers. I don't want to see any more bullpen games. I'm sick of the bullpen games. I don't want to see them, and I don't want to see them pulling, random names out of the bag. Okay, you're going to start a couple games for us. I want to see legitimate major league pitchers pitching for the Giants. So go get Valdez or Gallen. I think you can get them on discount, especially the closer we get to spring training. These guys want to play. They want to know where they're playing. We are coming up on February Pitchers and Catchers Report very soon. The Super Bowl is almost here and gone. Soon it is baseball time, so these guys want to find a place to play. Why not? By the Bay. That rhymed, and we're going to end the episode there. Go Giants. I'm super excited about the season, which is around the corner, and I think one step at a time. It's taken a while, but now as we get towards the end of the offseason, the Giants are starting to put together a team that I'm excited about, and I think Bader goes a long way when it comes to defense, and I've already talked about that, so I don't need to review the whole episode. We're going to wrap it up there. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Would you subscribe? Would you follow along? And we'll see you next time. Go Giants.